Hello, everybody. My name's Ben. It's nice to meet you. I hope your day's going well. I just rolled in from probably a 3.5 hour driving session. Um, it's winter here in Alberta, and I don't know if anybody is familiar with what driving in winter is like, but it's pretty hellish. I'm not gonna lie. For those of you who aren't aware of what a beautiful rural Alberta winter looks like, let me set the scene for you. So picture this. You're driving, it's pitch black, the snow is coming at you like you've never seen before, and you're sort of reaching like a flow state as you're just locked in on the road. You're just sort of cruising at your own speed, whatever feels safe, basically. When off in the distance, cresting a hill, you see a majestic Ford F 150, high beams blazing. They're searing straight into your retinas, and he does not care. Okay? All you can think of is I hope this guy just swerves off the road, right? My night is ruined instantly. You're fiending to show this guy your unregistered firearm that you keep under the passenger seat. It's terrible, okay? If you haven't done it, don't do it. If you have to do it again, I pity you, but I'm with you, right? Um I guess so. To get down to business here, on what is it? It's December 12th. On December 10th, 2025, we had International Human Rights Day. If you missed it this year, make sure to celebrate it next year. Do something nice for somebody. Help them experience what it feels like to have human rights. Because here in Alberta, we celebrated it by passing Bill 9, which I for pretty much everybody else is just sort of your boilerplate transgender ban. Our our conservatives are very very un like they're very uncreative people. So basically, they took whatever the United States was doing federally, and they just sort of like copy pasted it all. And around here, we have something, I'm not honestly sure if it's around in other places, but we have something called the notwithstanding clause, where basically, if the government doesn't like that you have rights or a specific right to do something, they can take it away. For a period of 5 years, this bill can go unchallenged by courts based on a charter violation or an Alberta Human Rights Act violation. So basically, for the next 5 years, at the very least, mind you, transgender children in the province of Alberta will not be able to access gender affirming care until at the very least 16 years of age. They will not be allowed to change their pronouns in an educational setting without prior parental consent, and they will not be allowed to participate in female sports if they are a male to female transgender woman. This is disgusting for a variety of reasons, but it's also incredibly pointless. So basically, I'm going to take you through what they say they're going to do, what they're actually going to do, and then why that matters. And this is important for not just people in Alberta, of course, because as I said, our conservatives and likely yours too are very uncreative people. They don't really come up with their whole their own ideas necessarily. It's just kind of whatever the global conservative movement is running with. That's just kind of what they're sticking with, right? Like I'm pretty sure this is happening all across Europe and obviously the Americas, that in governments that are dominated by a conservative party, right? Or even, let's be honest, even liberals are kind of caving to the whole thing, right? At least to some extent, in depending on situations. So in any case, what our conservative party is saying they're doing is protecting children, of course, right? Because that's the framing. That's how you win the argument. Ensuring that the parent has a firm role as the primary caregiver, and ensuring safety and fairness in amateur female sport. Okay, these are important goals, right? I mean, that's the thing, right? Is if you're that's the only description you're given, that sounds like perfectly reasonable goals, right? yeah, I do want children to be protected. I do want parents to love their kids and be their primary caregiver. I do want safety and fairness in amateur female sport. I'm a big proponent of that, right? Um, and like I laugh, but this is a ridiculous thing to do. So essentially, none of that is actually what they're doing, of course, right? Firstly, they are not in any capacity protecting children. So what they define as protecting children is preventing them from accessing gender reassignment surgery until the age of 18, which is not necessarily as big a deal as the second part of that, because there wasn't really that many people getting gender reassignment surgery before the age of 18 anyways, mostly because it takes a long time to get to that point, which is something that, of course, doesn't matter to the conservative movement. The second part of this is where they really get you. They restricted access to hormone therapies and puberty blockers until the age of 16, right? This is incredibly important because, as I'm sure everyone can at least sort of piece together from their name, puberty blockers only prevent puberty. They prevent the physical characteristics brought on by puberty from appearing, right? These are essential for children to be able to access before, like well before the age of 16. Because I don't know about anybody else, but I was a late bloomer. And by the age of 16, I was still well into the throes of puberty, right? So basically, the United Conservative Party of Alberta has made like a boss call where they're saying, we know better than the medical professionals that have been previously treating and evaluating and diagnosing these children and giving them access to this medication that prevents them from developing traits that they personally deem incredibly undesirable. This is ridiculous. This doesn't protect kids. This does exactly the opposite. This is a group of children who are already at elevated risks of self-harm and bullying. Like, to restrict access to medication that makes their lives easier and makes them feel more comfortable in their own skin is ghoulish. It's gruesome. Why would you do that? And I mean, we'll get into it later, but this doesn't benefit anybody, right? This is just for the sake of being evil. They claim that they're preventing permanent decisions from being made, right? Puberty blockers are completely reversible. You know how you reverse the process of going on puberty blockers? By stopping the use of puberty blockers. It unblocks them, right? If you are on hormone replacement therapy, or colloquially like abbreviated to HRT, if you stop getting that hormone therapy, your body just picks up where it left off. There's no reason to restrict these because it's like if they age restricted temporary tattoos. You're restricting something that is reversible, claiming that it's the same as like a gender reassignment surgery, basically. What they're protecting these kids from is access to medical advice, healthcare, and self-expression. Those are some dangerous things, right? Because our illustrious government, commanded by a former radio host, mind you, our premier, or for non-Canadian viewers, the head of our provincial government, used to be a radio host and feels that she knows better than medical professionals and is actively restricting those medical professionals from doing their jobs. It's just an absolutely ridiculous idea that sounds comically stupid and evil. And speaking of stupid and evil, the second part of the bill is essentially it forcibly outs children to their parents, prohibiting a teacher from changing the pronouns that they use to address a student without prior parental consent. Now, you might ask, why does it matter what a kid refers to or wants to be referred to as. It doesn't. That's the big thing. It doesn't. Conservatives will try to convince you that they should be allowed to say the N-word because it's just a word. You know what else is just a word? They and them, right? Very scary words, though. Very scary words. A kid wants to be called they instead of he, right? And a teacher has to inform the parent that this kid wants to be called that. While in a household like mine, where my parents would just go, "Why are you even contacting me about this, bro? This is stupid." Like, yeah, you can call them they, right? Not every child is as fortunate as I am, because it's I don't think it takes a genius to tell you that not all parents are exactly completely down with the transgender community, right? This opens up a group that's already at risk to even more risk of neglect and abuse from parents that, again, for what? It's completely pointless. It doesn't protect them from anything. It protects them from being referred to by a different word. So the third part of this bill is pretty bog standard as far as transgender bans go, sort of across the board, right? Protecting women in sports. Here in Alberta, there was, I'm pretty sure, no college level athletes who were transgender women, which essentially means that at the college level, it affected nobody, not one person. All it did was make all of the female athletes have to sign forms that say, yes, I am in fact a woman from birth. I'm glad we have that on file now. That's very cool. So what it effectively did was restrict a few kids below the college age level. So this is like high school and under. Like a handful of people are now not allowed to play sports, right? Incredible. We're really living in the generation of progress. Our tax dollars are funding that. So I guess getting into like the crux of the argument here, like why does this matter, right? Of course, it matters on a basic human level, first of all, where these people are losing their rights, they're losing access to healthcare, they are losing safety in a classroom environment, right? And at home, they're losing the ability to participate in something as trivial as amateur sport, right? So that's incredibly important that these people are losing this. But to the majority of the population who isn't directly affected by this, like myself, a straight cisgender white man who has literally all the privilege in the world, it still matters, right? Because this bill was passed at 2:20 a.m. I didn't even know the government, like the legislature, sat at that time. Why was it so late, right? They were obviously trying to hide it or make it as inaccessible to people as possible when they were doing it, which is, of course, the sign of a competent government. But they, in the middle of the night, suspended the rights of our neighbors to get through a piece of legislation that does nothing to benefit anybody. All it does is immiserate a handful of people from the Albertan population. Why? Right? And this is very important because think about if these people spent all this time and energy and determination to do something that actually materially improved your life. Think about if they were instead up till 2:20 a.m. and passed something that made your groceries cheaper, your housing cheaper, the cost of gas, the cost of your car, anything. Think about if they put all of that effort, that incredible amount of power that they have, into something productive that made your life actually improved in some way. The fact that they are willing to go to these lengths is a complete violation of trust because they're demonstrating that they have the power to make a change, but they're not using it for a good one. They're using it for something like evil, like profoundly, profoundly evil. It's like us, they're spitting in our faces, basically. And there's people who are completely fine with this. And I implore you, if you're one of the people who saw that this happened and said, "Hell yeah, brother," like we're taking back sports or something like that. Consider for a moment how it made your life better in any way, other than that brief feeling of victory over the libs, right? Like, yeah, we're beating back Trantifa. Like when you went to Walmart, were the prices lower? No. So aside from that brief shot of adrenaline and dopamine that you vanquished your foes, your life is unchanged. The only people whose lives are changed by this are the people whose lives are made worse. And that's ignoring the fact that for technically the fourth time in 2 months, our government has suspended the rights of Albertans. It did it first with our teachers, forcing them back to work under an agreement that they did not sign on to, ending their labor action against the province. And from what I can tell, they had no intent of ever settling that with proper bargaining with the union. They literally just said, back to work, fuck you. I do not care about you, your life, or your students, right? But now they've done it stripping away not just the right to collective action, but also they've stripped away the right to gender identity. This is incredibly problematic, and not enough people seem alarmed by it because they're basically just testing the waters right now to see what they can get away with without any consequences. And our federal government has partial responsibility for this too. They have the power to step in and put a stop to at least some of this, but they don't. We have to stand up for people who are losing their rights like this, while there's still people who can stand up for us in return if we're affected. So if you take anything away from this, let it be that this problem affects not just the people outlined in Bill 9. It affects everybody, whether that be through them wasting time that could be spent making your life better, or eventually potentially coming for your human rights too. It has to be stopped. We have to stand up against this sort of thing. We have to get involved, right? Get out, organize with community members, get involved with pre-existing organizations. There's tons all across Alberta, Canada, and I'm sure in your country and municipalities as well, right? Just we can't let this go unchecked. We have the power to make a difference. We have the power to prevent stuff like this from happening. All we have to do is try. And if you're still here at the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. If you enjoyed this, let me know. Drop me a like, subscribe, whisper it into the breeze. I don't care. Just, and if you didn't like it, let me know too. I will I don't know. I'll farm you for engagement, I guess. Like, or if there's a specific kind of content you want to see, do let me know too. I'm working on something a little more professional, and if you prefer that, of course, well, it's coming. And if you want me to make more of this more like casual sort of style of content, I'm more than happy to do that too. With that, thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.